Roy, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, happy to learn and understand where the vision came for Menē. You know, with transparency becoming more and more important in the food industry, in fashion, was that part of the motivation to start this company?
Certainly. I think that I was personally very perplexed when I traveled to Asia and discovered that what we consider to be jewelry is really, in the West, is really just a gold savings system in Asia. The way that they purchase gold is just in the form of these jewelry objects, bracelets, rings, charms, chains. All of these items are essentially a form of bullion, 24 karat gold, that's purchased by people every day by weight. The jewelry can be sold as easily as it's purchased, and transparency is built into this, what I call the gold jewelry standard. So when I went back and considered how different the jewelry industry was in the West, I was shocked, and I felt that there had to be a reason for this. And when I found no reason other than the greed of the jewelry industry in the West, especially in some instances finding examples where Tiffany's used to sell jewelry by weight, or actual 24 karat jewelry made by gram weight, I thought it would be a great idea to build a business and a brand around transparently sold jewelry. Well,
that's what's interesting, right? And I believe I mentioned this in the article I wrote on Menē, is how you are a disruptor in the jewelry industry, but you're also taking it one step back to once upon a yonder of a time when gold was really seen as money, something that's been lost today, right?
Well, it's lost officially, but overtly, gold is still perceived as money by most of the world, whether it's in its price performance, which outperforms every major currency. But you really get to understand just how much gold is money through the prism of the Eastern citizen, where there are literally 2 billion people that are wearing around $3 trillion of precious metals in the form of jewelry. I call that the high caratage gold jewelry stock. And this is why year in, year out, there is this tremendous amount of wealth in the East that's powering a jewelry economy where people sell jewelry, exchange jewelry, gift jewelry, borrow against jewelry, where the Indian grandmother is basically going short the rupee and going long the gold, a trade that's outperformed most hedge fund managers in the last 10 years. So I guess part of my goal in life is to try and bring back some of that ancient wisdom to the present, because I am completely imbued with that perception that gold is money. It still functions as money to me.
When did that start for you?
For me, I would say it began probably when I was starting my hedge fund around 2004, and I began to make a little bit of money. And I started to question, like, what was money? What is this thing that I'm working so hard for? And I always found myself revolving around gold somehow. But for whatever reason, the type of investing I was doing and the mentors that I had at the time all taught me, wrongly, I shall say, that gold had no intrinsic value. If it can't be analyzed with an income statement or a balance sheet, then why would you buy it? As Warren Buffett likes to say, if you have 1 gram of gold today, 100 years from now you have 1 gram of gold. And I think when I finally realized all of those theories were flawed and in some very dangerous way, even manipulative, I began to want to reorient my life towards spreading what I think is good information about gold. And eventually a lot of the theories I had developed into these two businesses. The first was BitGold, and now it's Menē.
And many people would say that, look, you've had a success as a hedge fund manager, you've had tremendous success with gold money. What made you think, hey, let me start a jewelry company now?
That's exactly what my board was thinking. I can't really stop myself when I have an idea or when I see a problem that I think needs to be addressed through business. I think business and capitalism are the most powerful tools for self-actualization, where you have an idea and you can see it realized through actual reality. And I just couldn't understand why there is not one jewelry brand in the West that sells 24 karat. Just let's start with that before we even get into the radical transparency and the minimal price premium that we have. Everywhere I asked, people would say, well, it's too soft. It's too soft. It's too soft. And when I went to the East, I saw that was just completely wrong. You know, it's soft for a metal, but it's still a metal. And in fact, it's the most indestructible of elements, let alone metals. So gold softness manifests in the same way that, you know, a good pair of Levi's jeans might get an imprint when you wore them too much or something like that. But all the weight's still there, all the beauty is still there, all the luster is still there. And I guess for me, when I start to have a view that's generally contrarian, I like to position myself to, you know, put my money where my mouth is, so to speak. And in this case, I feel and continue to feel very strongly that there is a great opportunity to build a jewelry brand in the West around 24 karat price transparent sales.
Well, let's look at the word itself, the name of the company, MENE, right? The history of the word. Do you want to explain that?
Yeah, so when I was inquiring into the history of gold standards, everyone likes to say that most historians and most economic textbooks will say that the gold standard began in 700 BC in Lydia, when King Croesus coined for the first time these electrum elements, gold, copper, into coins. And what I couldn't reconcile was why there were these two law codes, the Code of Hammurabi and the Code of Ur-Nammu from Babylonia, about 2,000 years earlier, where the codes themselves are structured around gold and silver, such that the gold, which was called the mina or the Menē, was a weight of 567 grams of gold, and the silver, which was called the shekel, which was a 9.5 gram unit. So even then, the gold-silver ratio was roughly the same 5,000 years ago. But what I couldn't understand was, if there was a law code where gold and silver in the form of Menē and the shekel were being used, and all the professors and academics tell us that gold standards began in 700 BC, so what were they using 2,000 years before coinage? And the answer, of course, is staring us right in the face when we go to the Metropolitan Museum of Art, or whenever we read about these discoveries of tombs. They were wearing it. It was 24 karat jewelry. It was being worn. It was being adorned. And it was one of the most sophisticated, decentralized banking systems that ever existed, where you could wear the equivalent of $100,000 of purchasing power, traverse the planet, exchange it, sell it, lend against it, and everyone knew what it was worth based on an objective weight measurement.
And this is exactly what it is. It's investment jewelry. You're actually using this term, right, to market the product.
Yeah, we've trademarked that term, investment jewelry, and invest in pure love.
So basically, dependent on the spot price of today, prices will fluctuate.
Correct, in any currency that you measure gold in. So our system actually works in 80 different countries with 80 different fiat currencies. But really what you do when you go to Menē.com after you've opened an account is you're purchasing jewelry by weight. So every single design that we craft is crafted with a specified weight. A charm might have 3.5 grams and a ring might have 10 grams. And then once you decide to purchase that item, the price will change every day based on whatever the gold or platinum values are that day.
Diana Picasso, let's talk about the collaboration. And she is your chief artistic director for MENE. I like to say, well, if you want to own a Picasso, now's your chance.
Yeah, so we were very fortunate to have Diana Picasso, who's been a friend of mine for many years, join the business as a co-founder and also chief artistic officer. And she's brought a wealth of knowledge in the form of
the granddaughter of
the great artist Pablo Picasso. Yes, certainly. That's one of the reasons that she's known. But she's also known as a great art historian and curator in her own right. She's actually been a historian of the Catalogue Raisonné of all the Picasso sculptures. She's curated some of the most successful art exhibits over the last few years, and she has a real taste for design, which has allowed us to attract talent such as Sunju Moon, who worked for the Louis Vuitton Group, and Missoni, but she also understands this idea of jewelry needing to be an heirloom that's timeless, that transcends time, an object that symbolizes a moment or an expression or a token of something. And she really told me some stories about her family and her grandfather that shocked me. For example, Pablo Picasso never liked to store his money at banks. Right. He used to like to store it in gold and outside of banks.
There's a long family history there.
There's a long family history of understanding gold, and even her mother really enjoys what we're doing and is supportive. And it's been a real pleasure, because it's allowed a lot of the people in the art world and the jewelry industry and the fashion world to take notice what we're doing. One
thing I noticed, Roy, when you're on the site, Menē.com, you might see a piece today, it might be gone tomorrow. You're not making a whole lot of inventory, right?
Well, we've sold 10,000 pieces since January 6th, so we've made a lot of jewelry. We didn't estimate the level of demand. We also underestimated how long it takes to manufacture. We're the only company manufacturing 24-karat jewelry in the United States. We have our own factory, and now we have a joint venture with one of the largest jewelry manufacturers in the world that's going to help us scale over the next quarter or two. But that is true. At a certain level, we can only make X amount of these units per day. And we have to have fixed labor costs, or else the cost of manufacturing will rise, and I won't be able to offer the jewelry at the premiums that I would like, which is around 20%, 15 to 20%.
You're set to go public on the TSX. Obviously, that's going to be the next big goal and vision for you. But let's look beyond that. What's the game plan?
The game plan is, I like to have these big ideas where, if I'm right, I can focus my energy on these ideas for 10 or 20 or 30 years and change the paradigm of how people perceive. In the case of gold money and bit gold, it's money. I want people to think about gold as money, use it as money. In the case of Menē, I really want to implement a paradigm shift in how people consider jewelry. I want jewelry to be viewed in the same way that people view stocks or art or property. It's something that the moment you purchased it, the moment you parted with your labor for it, it should preserve that original purchase price. And it should even rise. You know, Menē jewelry becomes a profitable investment if gold rises by 26%.
What I think or find interesting, Roy, is the way you want to spread this message. I know offline you were saying you like people talking about it. You want to get a conversation going.
Totally.
Right? You want word of mouth to help spread the word of Menē.
Well, that's how it's been spreading. You know, we basically have stopped marketing over the last 2 months because we can't make the jewelry fast enough, and it's spreading entirely through viral channels.
Can you share any sales with us, and what are projections?
So we've just hit $6 million in sales from January 6th. We have a $1 million wait list, and we barely have had inventory. We've only had about $2 million of inventory available for sale at any given moment in time. So we should easily close the year out at $10 million in sales. As you mentioned, we are going public on November 6th on the TSX venture. We're being spun out of Gold Money. I've had a great run of success with the TSX venture with BitGold and Gold Money, and I really like the discipline that being public instills: quarterly financials, annual earnings, corporate governance, and I think Menē can also benefit from that. And most importantly, Menē's reached the stage where it has to be separated from Gold Money in terms of accounting and balance sheet and financials.
Who do you see as your competitors? Is it the Tiffany's? Is it Cartier?
I think at the moment in the West there are no pure play competitors. I think that for Tiffany's or Cartier or even Pandora to compete with Menē, they would essentially have to go bankrupt because they'd have to change their whole model, their working capital model, their gross margin model. So it's very disruptive. That's not to say that you won't see 24-karat jewelry popping up. I'm quite confident that we'll see a lot of copycats on that front. But what I can't conceive of is any company without the infrastructure that we have, be it Gold Money, basically selling you 24-karat jewelry at a 15 or 20% markup. In the East, there are a lot of competitors, but what's missing in the East is a Western brand with Western values, Western design that's cool, that's hip, and that also codifies the standards. So even in the East, there is a decentralized standard in the sense that if you walk into Chow Tai Fook or if you walk into a Tanishq in India, it's being sold at a 15% premium. But no one's really codified the standard.
And you know, people just think, well, it's usually jewelry and women, but there's things for men as well, right? There's gifts, there's something for everyone.
I would say at least half of our sales are flowing through men, and we've also cracked the puzzle of getting men to buy jewelry for their women.
What's that?
Well, they know it's an investment.
They know it's an investment, right?
So now they're actually out there being proactive, not missing.
They feel good. They don't feel guilty about having to spend.
Exactly, and we've also designed a piece of technology that can come in handy. It's called a gift planner. So you can actually go on and pre-purchase gifts, pre-schedule them for the whole year with specified notes, and then you'll never...
Note to my husband.
Yes.
Note to my husband. Right now, MENE is solely online. Are there plans to have brick and mortar stores? And
at first I had more plans, and I followed in the footsteps of what I did with Gold Money. Because the demand has been so strong in the direct consumer e-commerce, I just heard a stat today that 60% of all new transactions, economic transactions, are being done online. So I really think the future is in e-commerce. I think what you'll see is we've built some really cool vitrines that price the jewelry real time, showing the price as it changes. We'll be positioning those in hotels and different places, but I don't know if we're going to actually open brick and mortar stores.
Is the fact that it's also, you know, purely e-commerce right now one of the reasons that you're able to keep prices down? Because honestly,
that's the only way.
This is really well-priced, beautiful jewelry. So
well, the online jewelry market today is $17 billion, and of that market size, almost 80% of the sales are by brands that have stores. In other words, you walk into the store, something is sold out, and then you go online, or you've already developed a relationship with the brand offline. What we're doing that's so special, that's so rare, is we're developing the customer relationship entirely online. The user experience in terms of the unboxing of the package is incredible. There are videos online, there are reviews if you go to menē.com/reviews. And once we've established that customer relationship online, they no longer see the reason to need to go to a physical store and buy jewelry there. And that's where we begin to generate our real value for the consumer and for the business model.
You know, I speak to a lot of people on a daily basis, and whenever I mention your name, it's kind of like it comes up like you're the Steve Jobs of our industry. You know, they say Roy is a great innovator in our field. He's always thinking of the next great big thing. Is that a heavy title to wear? Yeah,
I don't like it. It makes me, it embarrasses me, and I think it adds a lot of pressure that I'd rather not have. I don't think that anyone is like anyone. I'm very fortunate in my life and career. I've had some incredible mentors. I've also, for whatever reason, very quickly realized that I wasn't purely motivated by economic success, and that's allowed me to really wake up in the morning and think about the things I want to do in my life. And I think that way of thinking is probably missing, which is why when people talk to me or when they see some of the crazy ideas I have, it seems unique. But I think I haven't yet proven to be anywhere near those kinds of people in terms of the businesses that I've built. It's very early in my career.
Who are some of your mentors?
Well, a lot of them are private hedge fund managers. There are some very successful business people. I'd prefer not to mention.
So they wouldn't. It's not like a famous name. Like it's not like a Warren Buffett, for example.
Well, there are a lot of famous people, yeah. But I prefer not to mention personal names. I've had the privilege of interacting with some of the greatest minds, whether it's in business or in academia, and I've had a lot of good friends along the way. But like I said, I think the jury's still out. You know, thus far I've been really good at building these businesses initially, but we need to see how I'll do in 10 or 20 years.
Are you involved in the design process at all? Like, do ideas come to you and you say, hey, I think this would make a cool piece of jewelry?
Definitely. What I tend to do is ingest the data that we're getting, and then feed that data into the designer's work process. So for example, I came up with the whole idea for charms. And the reason I came up with charms, which has now become our 60% of our sales, is because I realized that people wanted to start with maybe a $150 or a $300 purchase, and we were having a lot of trouble with the different kinds of sizings we had. So the charms being a mono size and being a very relatively small weight allowed me to tell the designers to follow that path. But of course, it's Sunju and Diana's genius which comes up with charms like the Princess Crown, or we have a new teddy bear charm that's coming out, or the Pac-Man charm, which I think you've seen, and it's Friendly Ghost. So it's really our design team and the cadence between me being very data-driven and then feeding that data to the design team and getting that feedback loop going with our customers.
Are there plans to expand the product line?
Totally. Yeah, I think you'll see by the end of next year 300 or 400 different charms designs. You'll see hundreds of different rings. We have over 2,000 SKUs. We've been busy. We've been really busy, but in a way we've had too much products. We needed to start that way to see where the market was. Going forward, I see us as a company that has almost like a library of designs where you just go on and you could search for tens and tens of minutes until you find something you like. And I think that in addition to that, you're going to see us do a lot of capsule joint ventures with famous people, with celebrities, with artists, and we have one coming up that I'm really excited about that I can't announce just yet.
Of course not.
But it will be a big one.
Now, you know, we talk so much about marketing to the West, in North America. Wouldn't this be a natural success in countries such as China and India, and are there plans to market it there?
It would, but remember, they already have businesses that offer investment jewelry, so in our case, we would probably be competing on brand value. We ship to 80 countries, and we've sold to something in the vicinity of 30 countries since January 6th. So we are seeing demand for sure. But just like with my other businesses, I like to start in North America and then expand to Europe and take our time. You know, I've learned a lot in building the previous internet business. You really have to walk before you run. And in this case, we have so much demand just in the United States that we really don't need to disrupt our process by going overseas just yet.
So Roy, if I had to ask you to sum it up, what is MENE for you and as a business?
So MENE is 24-karat jewelry crafted from either platinum or gold, which is sold by gram weight at changing prices every day with a transparent design fee. So if you purchase a ring from us for, say, $400, you know that around 15% to 20% of that is the fee we earn, which we disclose to you, and the rest is the metal value which you own, which remains on your finger for as long as you own it.
So walk us through the process. What happens once I buy a bracelet, for example?
So that's a great question. Unlike most jewelry that you buy where it's transactional, you buy it and that's the end, the MENE experience is all about having you follow the value of your jewelry, be able to sell the jewelry or gift the jewelry. So once you've purchased your jewelry, there's a section on the website called My Collection, and you're able to log in, you're actually able to see the performance of your jewelry, like the performance of a stock portfolio, and see how much it's up versus what you've paid. You can transfer the jewelry to someone else with another account, you can gift it, or you can exchange it. And when you exchange it, we send you an envelope to your home that's fully insured, and you just put the jewelry in, it comes back to our vaulting fulfillment center, and then we credit you, or we allow you to exchange the jewelry for as many times as you want.
What's the timeline of a process?
When you purchase the jewelry, you can have it delivered to you in the United States or Canada within 2 days, 2 business days. Europe and Asia, I'd say 3 to 5 days. When you're selling the jewelry back to us, it's the same thing. It's about 10 business days.
So Roy, how did this idea come to you? Like, did you have a vision, or did it come to you in a dream? How did it evolve?
It basically was something that was germinating for a while. Ever since I created BitGold and Gold Money and realized very quickly that I would be able to disrupt a certain segment of the demographic, but I was never going to disrupt another segment that I felt was very important. And the way I used to tell people is if you put me in a room and I pitched BitGold or Gold Money, I might be able to get 10 people or 20 people to sign up. But if you put me in a room and I pitch MENE, I can probably get 30 to 50 people to sign up because it's competing with a completely different decision. With Gold Money or BitGold, you know, you're basically buying digital gold that you're storing long term. Here, you're making a decision to buy this jewelry versus other jewelry you're about to buy. And there's really no question about which you would prefer. The jewelry looks better, it feels better. There's nothing like 24-karat gold in person. When you place 24-karat gold, which is the way gold is found in nature, next to, say, an alloy, which is man-made, like 18-karat or 14-karat, the alloy almost looks like a silver. It loses its radiance next to the gold. And so the gold sells itself once people begin to touch it and feel it and purchase the jewelry.
How come you think 18-karat gold just became the norm, at least in Europe? And we lost 24 karat down the line somehow? Well,
the official story is that it's because gold is soft. But in my view, and this is my opinion, it's because the jewelry companies recognized that as there was more prosperity with the baby boomers, they could charge more, dilute their product, and they've been, you know, proselytizing this idea that 18-karat gold is real gold when it's not. And a great way to prove my point is just look at platinum. You know, all the things that people say about gold being too soft doesn't apply to platinum as an element. Platinum is a hard metal, it has a higher melting point. So why is it that all jewelry companies in the West sell you 92.5% platinum? They sell you 18, they don't even sell you 24 karat platinum. And of course, there's no reason why you can't sell 24 karat platinum. So in our case, we sell both 24 karat gold and 24 karat platinum. I really believe the jewelry industry in the West has become very greedy, and they see their job as selling people a discretionary item, competing for your discretionary dollars every year where you spend a certain amount and that's it. And what I see is an opportunity to sell people an investment product, compete with a different psychological decision, to invest, to save, not to consume.
Let me ask you this, Roy, because I think people in our world, in the gold world, get it. They understand and they say, you know, this makes absolute sense. Why would I pay a crazy premium on another jewelry piece? But how do you plan to educate, you know, someone who's not maybe exposed to precious metals on a daily basis?
It's exactly through the business model, through the jewelry. So if you were to go to menē.com/reviews, which I mentioned, you will see thousands and thousands of reviews. I think it's 3,000 reviews since May when we launched this feature. Most of these people are not gold bugs. They know very little about gold. They talk about their experience as being a very enlightening one where they had no idea what 20, you know, even the term 18, 14, 24K, what the heck does that mean? It's meant to obfuscate. The term should be pure gold or non-pure gold. Just like you have organic food and GMO food, you either have real gold or you have non-real gold.
Finally, Roy, how do you want your brand Menē to be seen? Is it an investment vehicle? Is it a technology company? Is it a luxury brand?
I would say somewhere between an Apple and a Charles Schwab. It's a product that isn't super expensive. You can start with $100. It's a luxury product, just like an Apple product is exceptional. It's fundamentally better than every phone. There's been a lot of thought put into the UX and the UI, but it's an investment. And you're also saying something by wearing Menē. You're saying that you're a saver. You're saying that you appreciate purity. You're saying that purity matters to you when you're gifting. And you have this ability to, if you need, in a rainy day, crystallize that purchasing power again, sell it, transfer it, gift it. So there's a long-term relationship that's being built with the physical jewelry you're wearing through the website. In other words, I'm not storing your gold the way I am with the other business with gold money, but I still have this relationship with you. Sure, you could take the jewelry and sell it at any pawn shop or any local jeweler and they'll value it at roughly probably what we value at because it's pure gold. But there is this incentive to continue to engage in transactions with us. One of the most interesting stats we've seen is that 30% of the people that have signed up to Menē have made 2 purchases or more in 9 months. And I'm being told by investment banks in the retail and e-commerce industry that's pretty high. Pretty unprecedented for a brand new jewelry brand.